Hey there, welcome to Comic Book Geezers. I am Pete. This is...
I'm Wild Bill, the Unknown Comic.
How are you?
How are you guys?
Hope everybody's great. Hope you enjoyed our part one of classic number ones.
First issues.
This
is part two.
This is part two.
He's going to kick it off with some more number ones for you.
Yeah, so I got a bunch here from the 70s. These were actually all Jack Kirby. All right, yeah, we all know how much I love Kirby.
Legend.
We all love Kirby, right? So here is number one. Black Panther,
Panther.
Hot commodity today because I got a movie coming out shortly. He showed up in the Captain America Civil War. This was, I don't remember how many issues they did of this. It wasn't many because he was in Jungle Action. He first did a little solo run in Jungle Action, and they had his own comic. Kirby really added some interesting like sci-fi elements to the Black Panther character, and I'm not sure that the readers really liked that too much, which is I think a reason why it didn't last that long. But as you can tell, he was really into this whole sci-fi thing, right?
The
Eternals. Great story.
Great. He thought of it. He drew it. It was his baby.
Yeah.
And I have a few of the issues. I have later issues. I think my oldest is number 3.
Number 3.
And then I have number 8, and I have where he fights the Hulk, which is like number 17. Right? I have 15. 14, 15, and 17 I have. I used to have 16 also, but it was in bad shape. I gave it away.
Good series. I enjoyed it. I love this one as well. So Kirby starred Machine Man,
who
actually
13.
first appeared as a character in the 2001 series, which Bill's going to talk about in a little bit. Kirby did the first, I believe, 13 issues of Machine Man. I might be a little wrong.
I don't know exactly, but I have number 13 out of the series.
And then Steve Ditko took over. Steve Ditko, of course, started Spider-Man.
Yes.
So, very unmistakable artwork. And then one more Kirby creation from 1978. This was Devil Dinosaur. Kind of a really different comic for Marvel, but kind of fun, you know?
In the Godzilla category.
Yeah.
Another dinosaur sales.
So Bill's going to go over to DC now.
Yeah, I'm going to go over to DC Comics. My favorite is The Flash. I used to read Flash, Batman, and Superman. So I haven't really done any Batman with you guys yet. So this is the Legend of the Batman, the Untold Legend of Batman. This was a 3-part series, and I originally bought number 3 first. So I basically got my hands on 1 and 2. I have all 3. Great artwork here, good storyline.
Riddler, Joker, and Penguin on the front of that.
This is a Holy Grail. This is Frank Miller's The Dark Knight. They call it The Dark Knight Returns, but this is what started those Dark Knight movies. This is a 4-part series, and I have all 4 parts. This is from DC Comics. This is when Frank left Marvel to come to DC, and this is what he created.
Classic storyline of Bruce Wayne
This is the book you give the people, if I want to get into comics, what should I read?
Yeah.
You should definitely recommend this.
Yep.
This I just recently got my hands on a few weeks ago, and actually I need to take this out of the bag because it has 2 covers. This is Batman from 1989, and it's called The Legends of the Dark Knight. And it also has a back cover. But what they do on the inside is they put this outer cover to protect the inside cover.
Pretty cool, huh?
And there's the storyline, Shaman. And it's a 5-part series. I have the first 4. So which means as a collector, I have to hunt and find down that 5th issue. And
that's pretty cool.
Sticking with Batman 1989. In 1989, there was a movie directed by Tim Burton. And so they made a comic to go along with the movie. And if you open this book up, this is like the graphic novel style comic. This is like the magazine quality pages. They also made a newspaper quality issue, which was half the price. It was $2.50. This is $4.95.
That great artwork, man. Look at it. They nailed
Jack Nicholson's face.
Look at the back. Show them the
back.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to show them the back. They also did these for the other Batman movies afterwards, but I only bought it for the first movie. And a friend of mine, I had the newspaper version of this book as well, and a friend of mine wanted it so bad, so I sold it to him. He kept bugging me. He was a Batman fan, and so I kicked off his collection with something like that. Also in Batman's life, we had Robin. This is from 1992. It's considered this is an annual. It's a first annual, so I picked that up. Sticking with Batman, I have to go. This is the first one in our series of Comic Book Geezers. I present my first Treasury edition. This is a reprint of Batman #1, and that's the cover of Batman #1, as you can see.
Look at that price.
$1.
$1.
And it's 3 times bigger than the original. This was printed, I believe, in 1975. And it has 2 covers. This is the outer protective cover, and then obviously on the inside you see the big cover.
That's pretty gorgeous.
I got to show you inside here the Joker. Check out the Joker from 1940. Look at that. Huh? I mean, it's just, I haven't read this yet. I picked it up last year, but it was just too busy. But I will get to read this. I wanted to show you the back cover. I was also looking inside for other good stuff. But I got this for a really good deal, and I'm happy it's in my collection. It's the only giant-sized Treasury edition I have from DC. I only had one last year, and since I started collecting last year and picked up again, I have 6 Treasury editions, but that's the only DC I have. Sticking with the Joker, I mentioned the Joker. Issue number 1, this is from 1975, or 76, I believe it's 75. And yes, 1975. First Joker. I'm not sure how many issues he went, but this was pretty cool.
So we got Riddler, Penguin, Two-Face, and who's that female character on there?
I'm not sure who she is. I don't know who she is. Yeah. I read this too, but I don't remember. I don't know. I'm human. I'm not perfect.
That is right.
Okay,
right.
Pete.
So we're going to jump over to 1980 Marvel. Moon Knight, first issue.
An issue I also have, but I couldn't bring it out. What's the sense, right?
Pretty cool. You know,
each copy's better than mine. Somebody wrote a little ink on mine, like wrote a date down or something on it.
Here's a cool one from the mid-70s.
That's
76.
That's 75. It's a 25-cent.
You know, with the Inhuman show coming out and you know them appearing on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on TV, this is worth a good amount of money right now.
And I have that copy as well.
And then I kind of thought this character was cool, maybe a retread of Giant Man, but you know we got Black Goliath, #1.
Good costume.
You know they were really trying hard in the
He appeared
70s.
in a few other issions. I forget what other issues I've recently read him in.
Yeah, and he was actually another character too.
He changed, right?
Yeah, he did. But you know, Marvel was doing a good job with the the African American characters there for a while. So you had Luke Cage, you had Black Panther, Black Goliath, and then Black Lightning over at
DC Comics.
DC Comics, you know. And then another cool #1, mid-70s, Omega the Unknown, a character from Hell's Kitchen area of New York City. Right?
I have the second issue where he fights the Hulk.
Yeah,
but this is about first issues.
Interesting character. You know, he didn't speak. He had all these kind of cool powers, and you know, Steve Gerber was the mastermind behind.
I also have issue number 10 when I was a teenager, but it has no cover. But I have number 2. We're gonna flip over to horror. Topps Comics, Vlad the Impaler. This was a 3-part series about Dracula, and Roy Thomas is the writer, who obviously is a legendary staff member over at Marvel Comics,
yep.
famous writer of Marvel Comics for many years, and also an editor, I believe, at Marvel.
Yep.
The book also has trading cards because Topps does trading cards. See the trading cards on the bottom down there?
That's pretty cool.
An independent comic, Ninja Elite. I always had an interest in the martial arts, so when I saw this book, I was like, this looks really cool. It's black and white artwork on the inside, and I don't know how long this series went because independents were kind of sporadic in terms of availability because they didn't have the publishing power like DC or Marvel. So I have the first 8 issues, but it's black and white artwork on the inside. But I like good storyline. Good storyline, monster movies, aliens, Earth Wars. This is the 3rd series. This is like the 3rd volume. There were 2 other volumes ahead of this. But this was a 4-part series, and this is issue number 1. This is color artwork on the inside. A great, great book.
Courtesy of Dark Horse Comics.
Yes, and staying on Dark Horse Comics, independent cover. This is Predator. And so, you know, Predator and Aliens are 2 classic monster movies from the 80s. And so I grabbed this recently. Sticking with Jack Kirby, this is called Phantom Force, and it's in the, I'm not sure if this is actually Jack Kirby artwork. This is hard to get this out of the bag. I've taken it out before. I didn't do my homework on this, but see the trading card down below this. I'm not sure that Jack Kirby is actually the artist to this, but it's dedicated to Jack Kirby, and it looks like a lot of,
it does.
It does look like Jack Kirby's star artwork. I have taken this out of the bag before and read it, but it's so hard to get it back in, so I'm not going to take it out. But I will do my homework and tell you, your next issue. People love Jim Lee as an artist. He did Batman and stuff. This is also an independent label. I believe this is Image. And it's a #1, and it has a trading card on the back.
Look at that artwork back there.
And I'll go back to the front. This bag is sealed, so if I sent it out to get graded and they kicked it back to me and told me it was 9.8, I'd be very unhappy. Never read it. #1, last for my independence here, before I turn it back over to Pete. Warlock 5. My favorite independent comic storyline of all time, and I only have the first like 13 issues, and I think it went to about maybe 25 issues or 22 issues. Great story, black and white artwork on the inside, but it's It's really violent.
And that's like fantasy themed stuff.
It's you know what, I read it like 35 years ago, but it's a great storyline, and it's got great artwork on the inside for a black and white cover. I mean, black and white comic on the inside. Usually, black and white turns you off. You want to see color, but the artwork is so good and the storyline is so good.
Well, if the artwork is anything like this, I mean, that's pretty damn cool.
And I can show maybe someday later. These are awesome covers. This is actually not the best cover. I would put this. This is a below 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. Although the other covers are 10s, this is like maybe I'll give this a 4.
That's pretty damn good. So
I'll give this a 4 compared to the other ones.
Wow.
But yeah, this is a great storyline. It's my favorite independent. What do you got over there, Pete?
All right, so we talked in part 1 of this episode about how not a lot of female themed comics, right? Well, I've got 2 number 1s of Marvel female characters. So the first is Spider-Woman.
Yeah, Spider-Woman.
Okay, this was probably, it's 1978, actually.
Yeah, it's 35 center.
Yep, and then also that same year, maybe a year later, yeah.
79, I think, here.
This is
the She-Hulk. And I have the first 13 issues of this run because I'm a Hulk fan. When I saw that, I thought that would be worth something, but they might do something with this character. And if it does, then she'll take off. You know,
she actually wasn't she in the Avengers? I believe.
I think she did join at some point. I was never really big into. I only have 2 issues of the Avengers. I wasn't really. And when I was a kid, I didn't have an allowance, so you know you want to buy everything, but you can't get everything. So you have to draw the line somewhere. So for me, the line was I'll take the Hulk, Iron Man, and Spider-Man.
So here's a number 1 for a series that kind of launched a lot of horror characters. We talked about it in part 1. It launched Werewolf by Night, Son of Satan, and Ghost Rider. But the actual very, very first issue of Marvel Spotlight had more of like a Western character. Red Wolf.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like, who is Red Wolf?
Yeah, pretty cool character who debuted in the Avengers.
And he got his own book eventually.
And then he got his own book, which I showed you the number 1 in that. And then before I turn it back over to Wild Bill, here's a horror title called Marvel Chillers. The first couple issues featured Modred the Mystic. Kind of an interesting, more like a Doctor Strange sort of character, but more on the supernatural side. So kind of cool.
Wow. Marvel always trying different things. In 1975, they came out with Hercules and teamed up with Ghost Rider and Iceman and Black Widow and one other character I can't think of. Angel, I think.
I mean, just look. I mean, none of these guys you would think would fit together on a team. I mean, look at how different you got. You got mutants, and you got the supernatural guy. You got a god here, and you got Black Widow, who of course has no superpowers, but
like
it's a really interesting team there.
And it only went 16 issues, I believe. And I need number 16 and number 6. I have everything else. I originally had number 5, but when I started buying again last year, I started buying the Champions. Good storyline. And like Pete mentioned, these characters you would never think blend together, but they do in this book. And there are a lot of Champion fans out there that wish this series would have continued.
Yeah. And
speaking on flipping over from the Champions, here's Hercules again, but this is 1982, I believe. He did a 4-part series. I was just checking the prices. This is 60 cents. I'm pretty sure this is 1982. This is a great series, but I only have the first issue. Number 1 issue of the Human Torch. This is 1974. I'm not sure how many issues he went. I have issues 1, 6, and 7. Yeah. What do you got over there, Pete?
All right, so here we have another one of those series that just was put up to launch characters, right? And unfortunately, this character never really did much of anything, but I thought it was actually pretty cool. A guy called Bloodstone.
Nice name.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. I mean, I think
good artwork,
really good artwork, and I think that the second issue number 2, which is also with Bloodstone, I believe Jack Kirby did the cover of that. Good character, just never really
catch on.
Didn't really catch on, Here we have issue number 1 of the Micronauts. This is another one of those teams that they kind of threw out in the late 70s.
This was a toy, and they tried to turn it into a comic book, and I had the first 13 issues, and then I decided to sell them. And Pete needed some issues.
He needed a few, including this one.
And he was like, do you have number 1? I was like, yeah. Here you go. Speaking of toys being turned into comic books, ROM was a toy. This is ROM number 1, and this is ROM, the first annual number 1. Now, ROM was a toy made by Mattel, I thought.
Yep.
And I never saw the toy in the stores.
I owned it.
Did you?
I had ROM, yes.
Oh, do you still have it?
I don't.
I never saw it. This guy... I don't know who he is, but when I saw that cover, this is like from 1992 or 93, I was like, let me get this. And it's a, I'm not going to open up the book, but this is the back cover. It's a one giant cover, obviously. But really, really good artwork.
Death's Head. How cool of a name is that? Death's Head.
And it's a very popular character. I have the first 2 issues of this. Again, weird comics for me in the late 90s. This is codenamed Genitex. Just because Wolverine was on the cover, I bought it, you know. Great #1 issue. Going back in time, Marvel doing things to generate sales. Made a comic book of a TV show called The Man from Atlantis. And I used to watch this show when I was a kid, so I was like, oh, give me that. Patrick Duffy was the star who played The Man from Atlantis, and I have the first 2 issues of this.
Later going on to Dallas.
Now, talking about Jack Kirby with Machine Man, Pete said earlier, Machine Man originally appeared in Jack Kirby's creation of 2001: Space Odyssey, which obviously was a movie from 1968 or 1969. And I'm not sure how many issues this went. I think maybe 12 or 13.
Yeah, it doesn't, I think.
It didn't go very far.
No,
I have the first 2 issues of 2001. Moving over to science fiction, there was a TV show, Battlestar Galactica, which came out. Well, obviously, if Star Wars had never came out, this wouldn't have came out. But this was a TV version of like Star Wars, but it just wasn't as good as Star Wars.
Good show, though.
I liked it. I loved the concept of the story, but it didn't catch on. It was discontinued. This is Star Wars, #1, and my last #1 for this episode is a 4-part series called Cloak and Dagger. Now, I understand they might be making a TV show about these characters, so if that happens, this book will probably take off.
Absolutely.
And kick it over to Pete.
All right, so for my my last 3 here, kind of to continue on the adaptations of TV shows and
science fiction
and movies and whatnot. So we've got Marvel's run of Logan's Run, okay, which is an early 70s film.
76, I think. It had Farrah Fawcett Major in it.
Yep, actually a pretty damn good movie.
You die when you're 30 years old, you get euthanized to help keep the world population down. So when you turn 30 years old, they know it's time for you to be terminated. And Logan doesn't want to be terminated, so he runs and flees the city.
Yeah. Very, very cool story, actually.
Good storyline.
And Marvel also did I believe, a 10-issue series on Planet of the Apes. Here's the first one here. Yeah, from the movie. They did a color comic, and they also did a black and white magazine. The black and white magazine was drawn by Mike Plug. I don't actually own any of those. They're kind of hard to find. But the color comic Plug was not involved. Then my last #1 today, kind of a weird character. I just
see this character on the newsstands all the time, but I was like, I never thought of him as a superhero. I wouldn't go near him.
He basically was kind of like Evel Knievel without the motorcycle. All he did was like death-defying stunts. He was like a stuntman, right?
Oh, okay.
The human fly. So
I thought he could stick to walls and stuff. But he didn't have any wings. I was like,
no, not a great character. I mean, I have every issue. It's like because it
didn't
wasn't
go far.
No, it didn't really go far. It's okay.
Maybe 20-some odd issues.
I don't even know. I don't even think it went that far.
Really?
Yeah, but
So now it's time to wrap up with favorite covers, and for me. This book here is a sentimental story for me. My deceased Uncle Johnny, gave this to me when he was 17 years old and I was 3. I couldn't read, and he gave it to me without a cover. And I had a stack of maybe 50 or 70 comics, all hand-me-downs from my Uncle Johnny. He passed away from a brain aneurysm. And what happened was, when I moved when I was 12, I threw all my comics out because we had to consolidate. And when I started collecting comics again when I was 13, I started doing comic book conventions when I was 15, and I was in New York City, and I saw this vendor that Iron Man comic books, and I had flipped through this book a million times before I could read. The storyline in it was great.
But without a cover.
And then I saw this book and instantly popped off the light bulb in my head that this is the book that my Uncle Johnny gave me. And the whole point of this story is this is the book that got me into comics to begin with. So when I opened it up, sure enough, it was the story. And I bought it, and I got a steal. I got it for $2, you know.
Gotta love that.
I bought this in 1980. And this story I'm telling you, I never got to tell my Uncle Johnny, because he lived in Philadelphia. Now, my mom is from Philly. Philly is my home away from home. Hello, Philadelphia, what's going on? I want a cheesesteak. What do you got there for favorite covers, Pete?
So for my favorite cover, well, not my favorite cover of all time, but one of my favorites. In part 1, I obviously dedicated to Mike Plug on the Frankenstein cover. So I'm sticking with that kind of theme.
All right.
One of my favorite Mike Plug album covers of all time. Of course, he did a bunch of the early Man-Things.
This is a good comic cover.
This is the giant-sized Man-Thing #1,
which I have
the
also.
Glob, who, of course,
the Glob.
If you are a fan of the Hulk, you know that he
fought the Hulk
twice. But this battle is just tremendous because he had these two kind of swamp creatures, just
going at it,
duking it out for the
slinging mud.
Oh yeah, totally. And just look at that.
That's a great cover.
And it's like, and you got the ferryman almost like on the back.
It's like coming a little closer so they can see the ferryman.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Yeah. It's just I just love Plug's interpretation of some of these like horror characters.
He had talented hands.
Yeah,
when it
really
comes to
did.
drawing.
Yep.
Well, gang, that wraps up this episode of Comic Book Geezers. I'm Wild Bill signing out, saying peace, and thanks for joining us, and look forward to seeing you again on our next episode.
And I'm Pete, so we'll see you soon. Thanks for joining, and make sure you subscribe.
Yes.
We'll see you again next week.
Take care. Have a
Bye-bye.
good one. Bye-bye.